Okay, so last week, Fanatics shocked the sports world when news dropped that they won the rights from Topps and Panini to produce baseball, basketball, and football trading cards. So Topps had a 70-year relationship, nearly a century-long relationship with the MLB. But now Fanatics owns these rights and the licenses um, to produce sports cards with logos, the players, everything. And sports card hobbyists around the world went into shock. If this weren't enough of a headline on its own, news dropped just as Topps was about to go public through a SPAC. Michael Eisner, the former Disney executive, purchased Topps in 2007. After more than a decade of building the Topps brand, Eisner planned to capitalize on the booming trading card market, which particularly exploded over the last year and a half during COVID. As a kid, I loved collecting cards. I still remember to this day exactly where I was when I pulled my first jersey card. When I saw that Topps was going public, I bought some shares purely for fun. Now that the news of this with this Fanatics deal, the Topps SPAC merger has been called off. There were a lot of reaction videos last week to all of this news. I took some time to read more about Fanatics and who is involved with the company. And in this video, I'm actually going to try and make the case that perhaps Topps and Panini should have seen this coming. So let's look at this flow chart here that I kind of made with all these pictures. 2021 has been a really busy year for Fanatics. Earlier this year, Michael Rubin, who's the chairman of Fanatics, announced that he was launching a digital collectibles company and entering the NFT space, or non-fungible token, with an exclusive long-term agreement with Major League Baseball as its first content provider. Serial entrepreneur and NFT and New York Jets fanatic Gary Vaynerchuk helped launch this effort, as did Mike Novogratz, who's the CEO of Galaxy Digital. On top of that, Fanatics recently announced that they raised $325 million in venture funding at a whopping $18 billion valuation. In the press release, Fanatics made it clear that the company was going to be expanding into new sectors underneath its umbrella. So in addition to NFTs, they announced that they had hired the former CEO of FanDuel, Matt King, who would oversee and help launch the Fanatics sports gambling and gaming venture. Additionally, as far as trading cards go, Fanatics hired Josh Luber, who is the co-founder of StockX, which is another massive player in the collectibles market. So how is all of this connected, and what does all of it actually mean? After doing some digging, I think that I found some overlapping elements. And I just want to be clear, perhaps I'm connecting dots that aren't actually there. But to me, I think this was definitely a carefully timed and coordinated effort on Fanatics' end. So let's get into trading cards. As I mentioned, Fanatics hired Josh Luber from StockX. Who else is the co-founder of StockX? Well, none other than Cleveland Cavaliers owner and billionaire entrepreneur Dan Gilbert. To me, having Luber on your team and his direct ties to Gilbert give Fanatics an unparalleled connection to the NBA and its key decision makers. And it also doesn't hurt that Fanatics chairman Michael Rubin is the owner of my team, the Philadelphia 76ers, but we'll get to that in a little bit. Speaking of the NBA, how did Fanatics outmaneuver Topps and get involved with the MLB? Well, guess who else is on the board of directors on Fanatics? None other than NBA All-Star and former Lakers champion Magic Johnson. But wait a second, I thought we were talking about the MLB and not the NBA. That's right. In case you don't know, Magic Johnson is a partial owner of arguably the MLB's best team, the Los Angeles Dodgers. And guess who Fanatics just hired as its chief strategy officer? Former Los Angeles Dodgers president Tucker Kane. Between Magic and Kane's connection through the Dodgers and their relationship with key MLB executives, it seems to me that getting a meeting with any decision maker in the MLB was pretty easy for Fanatics, especially since they already had this content deal for Candy Digital. And again, it doesn't hurt that the MLB already had an equity stake in Fanatics from a prior fundraise in 2017. Speaking of the 2017 deal, want to know who else participated? That's right, the NFL. The NFL also had an equity stake in Fanatics alongside the MLB and invested $150 million. So, as I mentioned above, the chairman of Fanatics, Michael Rubin, owns the Philadelphia 76ers. He often can be spotted sitting courtside with Philly legend Meek Mill. Not only is Rubin a savvy businessman and entrepreneur, but he has forged some unbelievable relationships in the entertainment industry. All you need to do is hop over and take a glance at this guy's Instagram, and you'll see that he's often hanging out with other businessmen and entrepreneur, and particularly none other than Jay-Z. And speaking of Jay-Z, he participated in the latest fundraise that I just mentioned, the $325 million round. Also, Jay-Z has some major ties to the NBA as a former partial owner of the Brooklyn Nets and his sports management company, which boasts clients from the MLB, NBA, and NFL. So, in summary, I don't think that these Fanatics deals with the MLB, NBA, or NFL just happened overnight. Michael Rubin is clearly very well connected at the intersection of business and entertainment. And at the end of the day, he is a stellar branding and marketing guy. Having executives from StockX, FanDuel, and major icons like Magic Johnson and Jay-Z in your corner don't hurt, especially when it comes to branding and marketing. I think that this deal was a long time coming and the seeds were being planted a long time ago. I also think that the timing of the MLB's new chief marketing officer was calculated, as that news dropped a day or two maybe before the Topps and Panini news dropped. So in my opinion, I really do think it's all connected. I don't think that Fanatics just submitted a high bid that Topps couldn't match, or Panini with the leagues. What I really think happened is, we already knew that Fanatics was going to be setting up separate entities with, and the leagues were going to get equity stakes in those entities. That was part of the deal. So in some ways, it's almost as if instead of spending a lot on sales and marketing, if you're like a big company, that's what a lot of companies do. They up their sales and marketing budgets to acquire customers. Fanatics leveraged its brand equity and literally its shareholder equity to acquire new customers. So, that's kind of how I'm thinking about how this deal really went down. I don't think it was just hundreds of millions of dollars in upfront cash that Topps didn't have on their balance sheet. The MLB, another thing to note is that the MLB has been experiencing a major identity issue for a while. They've struggled to market their biggest stars and therefore engage viewers at home. I suspect that Fanatics will try and change all of this. And in addition to the equity stake in the new entities that Fanatics is setting up, I also think that the MLB gets Fanatics branding and star power. To me, this is about image, it's about branding, it's about persona. So at the end of the day, who knows what happens to Topps or Panini's? I would assume that the Slam SPAC, which is actually Alex Rodriguez's SPAC, which was rumored to be taking Panini public, is probably at risk now. My guess is that they'll try and find a new target. I think it's possible that Topps and Panini are acquired for relatively low valuations, or some sort of revenue share model is created between them and Fanatics. I ultimately don't think that Fanatics will create their own brands and that the Topps brands will go away overnight. Having never produced a physical product of their own, there are supply chain risks, there are distribution challenges, there's pricing challenges. Fanatics is going to face all of this. So I think the prudent thing to do, quite frankly, would be to leverage Topps and Panini's IP and their overall know-how of the industry and their knowledge base of the card and collectible market. But definitely let me know what you think. I watched a ton of videos about this last week. The news shocked everybody. As a former hobbyist myself, it really shocked me. As I mentioned on my Twitter, my cousin owns a collectibles store, sneakers and sports cards. He was completely caught off guard by this, really shocked. He had a lot of things to say. I definitely want to know, drop some comments below and let me know what your reaction to the news was, what your overall opinions are, what you think about, kind of what I think really went on here at all these connections, or if I'm just, kind of connecting dots that aren't there. Definitely curious to hear people's thoughts. Thanks for watching.